everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm down here at Melon Garden. It's behind me here, and I am checking out the watermelons to see if they are ripe and ready to go. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to show you how I tell if the watermelons are ready and when they're not ready. So I'll put up some close-up video footage so that you guys can see what I recommend you look for when you are trying to figure out whether your watermelons are ready for eating. Just taking a look at seeing how the pumpkins and the watermelons are getting on. The pumpkins are not ready, they are still a ways off. But I have noticed a couple of the watermelons, they are showing me indications that they are ready. This one here, you can see this little curly bit here. You can see that it's almost died off all the way back to the stem. That's an indication this is very close to being ready. A lot of people go by the sound as well. I don't always worry about the sound, but there is another little piece that's missing off of this one. I will find another one and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the other little bit that's normally on them that's missing on the other ones. It's like a little cup thing. When that fully dies off, along with this little curly bit, this one's still got just a tiny bit left to go. That is another indication they're ready to harvest. So this is the one that I was looking at that I'm going to pick. The curly is dried all the way back to the stem. The little cup is, there it is, right in the middle there, which is all the way died off as well. There's some nice colouring happening on the bottom side, and it sounds pretty good to me. So I'm actually going to harvest this one. Just going to pull him off there. So this is a little watermelon that we're going to take up to the harvest kitchen, and we are going to cut him open. He feels really quite warm at the moment, and see if I was correct, if it's ready to go. We are up here in the harvest kitchen. I have given this little watermelon a wash off. Now this specific watermelon is called a sugar baby. It's a smaller variety of watermelon to what I grew last year. It's still a decent size. Some of them are actually getting bigger than this. So I'm going to cut this open. If you guys want to check out the new variety of watermelon that I'm growing that's pictured here for next year, which is 2023, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the dinger bell, the thumbs up. Leave some comments down the bottom for what watermelons you're growing next year. And keep watching for some more tips and tricks and hints on how to keep your watermelons and how to grow your watermelons. So just leave them out in the field for as long as you can. If you need to, you can harvest them all and bring them up in the house and just keep them in a cool, dry place. Just make sure that you wash them down nicely before you store them, just so that you're washing any dirt or bacteria or anything that the birds may have dropped on their way through, if you get my picture. So I'm going to cut this open now, and we're going to see if this little baby is actually ready and ripe for eating. If not, I will have to leave the rest of the watermelons for a few more weeks and see how they go. Let's get this thing cut open and check it out. It is a beautiful and red in here, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of seeds in here. This side looks like there might be a few more seeds, but this is looking really good. So let's guard this up a bit more so that I can get a piece. Let's get a taste. It's not overly sweet. It's probably because it's not very warm. It's because it's warm either, and I really need to harvest this in the morning, not at the end of the day. But it is still a really nice watermelon. I think if this is refrigerated, it'd be much nicer. We do like our watermelon refrigerated. And this is warm straight out of the paddock. So if you wanted to save seeds out of these, It's as simple as just taking the seeds out of the watermelon as you're eating them. Put them aside on some paper towel or on something that they're not going to stick to, like a plate. Just let them sit there and dry out. Then put them into a lock seal bag, a paper, an envelope, a little paper bag, whatever it is you want. Label them, date them, and you have watermelon seeds for next year. Those watermelon seeds may or may not, depending on whether the watermelon, what the watermelon was crossed with originally, may become a true watermelon or may be a different variety or a crossbreed of whatever this was used to make this specific type of watermelon was bred with. But at the end of the day, if you can't get watermelon seeds and you want to grow something that you can eat, those seeds are perfectly fine to be using to grow some more watermelons. I'm just going to jump in here, guys, and let you know a couple of things. Now, one, the second part of this video, it was 19 days after the first part of this video was done. The first part of this video was done on the 1st of February. The second part of this video was done on the 19th of February. So 19 days between when I first started to see the watermelons letting me know they were ready up until harvest day. So when I finished doing this first part of the video, I actually turned all the water off. So the watermelons were, I think I did one more water actually, and then I turned the water off, so they were not watered for the next 19 days. The reason I've done that is to help sweeten up the watermelons themselves. So when you overwater a watermelon, the watermelon will suck up a lot of water, and it will water down the sugars that are in the watermelon. So to increase that sugar quantity in the watermelon, you stop watering your watermelons between 2 to 4 weeks prior to harvest. So about when the little tendrils are probably about halfway browned off, then you stop watering your watermelons. So it won't hurt your watermelons not to be watered for that length of time, because they already contain a lot of water. Now, previous to this year's harvest, which is 2022, so in 2021, we had some really early rains come through, and the watermelons were just absolutely drenched. So I did lose a lot of my watermelons to splitting and or bugs, because the ground was so wet and moist. So if you find that your watermelons are splitting, it is because you have overwatered them or because you've had extra rain come through. Also, if you find your watermelons lack a lot of flavour, it's because you have overwatered your watermelons. Now, these watermelons were watered twice a week, for about half an hour to 45 minutes each watering. So that was a really long, good watering. It was done through the drip system that you'll see through the watermelon garden beds themselves, and that was just twice a week that these watermelons were watered that way. So, and that is plenty of water for the watermelons. So a couple of other little tips on how to get your watermelons to grow really nicely is to harvest your watermelons in the morning. So if you can get out there, you know, just as the sun starts to come up, or just before the sun comes up, and get your watermelons harvested really early in the mornings, all the sugars will still be in the watermelon, because as the day goes on, the vine itself will take the sugars out to use for doing the process it does for growing itself. So the vine will then, at the end of the day, overnight, what it doesn't need, it will return that to the watermelon, and then you will have a lot sweeter watermelons. The other thing I recommend doing as well is, once you've picked your watermelon, let them sit for 2 or 3 days on the bench, just so that the sugars can settle in there, and you will find that there will be a much nicer watermelon as well. So just letting them sit and do what they need to do before you cut them open. You can go ahead and eat them straight up, but I found that it's a much nicer watermelon if I just let them sit for a couple of days before I cut into them. And they are much, much nicer when they're put in the fridge and served cold. Some people say that your vines need to die right off as well before you harvest. Not so true with watermelons. That is more true with a pumpkin. You can leave the pumpkins out there right up until the vines die back. But as a watermelon has a lot more fluids in it, I would suggest that you harvest them when the tendril and the little cup have died off, maybe a couple of days, few days after that at the most, and just do it that way. Now I was going out every day and checking. I was harvesting 1 or 2 here and there that I could see were ready, and we were eating them then, but this specific day I went out and I actually harvested the whole lot with my son, and he gave me a hand, and we harvested a lot of the sugar baby watermelons. The second lot of watermelons, they were still a few more weeks away. So to achieve the concession of not having all your watermelons come in at one time is another really great tip as well, guys, and that is to plant, say, 4 to 6 watermelon seeds on this day, and then another week or 2 later, 5 to 10 days sort of thing, plant in another 3 to 6 watermelon seeds, and do that, so that way you will get these 3 to 6 plants will be ripe then, and then another week or 2 later these ones will be ripe, the next lot will be ripe, so you can have a succession of watermelons coming in, and instead of having all the watermelons coming in at one time. So guys, back to the video, and I'm going to be showing you some really close-up clips of the little cups and the little tendrils, and explaining to you a little more in detail, because I was able to harvest them, a little more detail in how to actually check if your watermelons are ready. Today is watermelon day, so you can see I got a lot of watermelons in here. All the ones on this side should be ready to come in, and most of the ones on this side are probably still another couple of weeks off, but I'm going to go through this side and get them all picked out, and I'm going to show you how to know when your watermelon is ready. So these watermelons have come straight up from the garden. I have done it this way because it's just going to be so much easier to show you guys what you need to look out for when you're harvesting your watermelons. So I've cut them with their bits of vine on them, so you can get a good look. So this is the other side of the vine, which was connected to the plant, and this is the end of the vine. This is a really little one, but it is a good example of seeing a watermelon that is not quite ready to come off, but it's too small, it'll be going to the horse anyway. So the parts of the watermelon plant are the vine, which is what's between my 2 sets of fingers. You've got your leaves. Then when it comes to each of the individual watermelons, you have this little, what looks like a little cup, little leaf sort of shaped thing, and then what is called is the tendril. Now you can see this tendril. Normally I'll put a couple of photos in of some green tendrils for you to look at. But this one here, really hoping you guys can see it, but this one is really dried up and died off. But the cup itself is still green. So to me that is an indication that this particular one is not quite ready. But I'm going to cut it open and we'll have a look and see what it looks like on the inside. This is the way up this watermelon was out in the garden. And so the 3 main things that I look for when testing to see if a watermelon is ready. I don't always go by the sound, because sometimes they sound hollow, sometimes they just sound really thuddy. So I don't always go on that. So, but the 3 things I look for is you turn them over, is a really nice bright yellow spot on the bottom side where it sits on the ground, which is a good indication that the watermelon is ripe. Then on the stem here, which is, this is the stem of the plant, and then here for this individual watermelon. So this right here above my finger is the little cup they die off and they shrivel up. So sometimes they actually fall off. And this is a leaf, this one. This is a leaf as well. But this here is the tendril. So this tendril is really dried off and is actually broken off. I think it might have actually happened while I brought it into the house. So sorry about the focus on this. It is really hard to focus and get a good shot. But that's what you're looking for. The little cup to be really dried out and the little tendril to be really dried out as well, along with that nice yellow look on there. So I'm just going to cut these up open and we're going to take a look and see what they look like. So before we cut these up, I'm just going to show you how to also cut them off the vine. So you want to give as much of this stem as you possibly can, so that as it shrivels up while it's sitting, it does not allow bacteria in. If you break it off at the watermelon itself, you need to eat that watermelon straight away. Otherwise, bacteria will get into your watermelon. So as much of the stem as you possibly can. So same with this one. I'm just going to do a really long, tall one. So some will be longer than others, but as long as you leave a stem, they're good to go. The other thing I recommend you do is get them washed to get any dirt off. You'll see on the surface here all the bits that have fallen off of it while I've been playing with it. We don't want to be eating that. I'm going to give these a wash. I'm going to get me my chopping board and I'm going to cut these open. Alright, so we have had a wash and we are now ready to cut these open. So this is a little one that I believe is not quite ready. This is not very yellow compared to the other one, and that little cup was not fully browned off. So I'm going to cut this open. So you can see there's a lot of white around here. It is red, but it is still a very immature looking watermelon. I'm hoping you can see that. It's really difficult sometimes to show what I'm seeing with the naked eye. I'm just going to take a piece of this and it's nice and sweet, but it still has that slight underripe taste. You could still eat it like that, but yeah, that one's definitely going to the horse. But so this one, we are going to cut this open as well. By the way, there is no right and wrong way to open a watermelon. People cut it one way, people cut it the other way, as long as you get into it and can actually eat it. Wow, look at that, guys. I'll do a taste test. Definitely much better than the other little one. That is how to tell if your watermelons are ready by the tendril, the little cup, and the color on the watermelon. This is going to get cut up. My kids are going to have a lovely little afternoon snack. And this one, he's going to go down to Mr. Bug, Elvis, and he's going to have a nice afternoon watermelon snack as well. Guys, thank you for joining me here again, checking out the watermelons. They are yum. I am so super stoked that they are ready before the rains come through. Last year it was a disaster. The rains came through and wrecked most of my watermelons. I am going to take the watermelon rind down to that big beastie horse out there because he loves watermelon. Thanks for joining me here again. I hope your watermelons have done really well this year. If you've got any more questions, leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, check out the videos to the side here, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to head on over to the other two channels, Cooking with Mumma Bear and Preserving with Mumma Bear, where we learn how to preserve all that food that we are growing out in the garden. So till next time, guys, happy gardening.